Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to Ms. Yara McSweeney.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Your Business by the Numbers, Census Business Builder. My name is Yara McSweeney, and I am a program analyst at the Census Bureau. I want to thank you for joining us today at the Back to the Data Basics webinar series. This webinar series was created by the Census Academy team here at the Census Bureau. You can now register for any of the webinars by visiting census.gov/academy. Before I introduce today's speaker, let's just go over a few housekeeping items. As mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded. For your convenience, it will be posted to our Census Academy site within 30 business days, and we'll post all supplemental materials, including the PowerPoint slides. In terms of how to ask questions during the webinar, you can submit your written questions using the Q&A panel, which is at the bottom center or the right side of your WebEx screen. Please take a moment to locate that now. Once you've found the Q&A panel, make sure you choose All Panelists from the drop-down menu. This will ensure we see your question. Also, we ask that you do not include any personal or business identifiable information with your questions. My colleagues, Monica Dukes and Marilyn Stevens, will be monitoring the Q&A panel. As time allows, they will answer your questions directly to the Q&A panel, or they will read them out loud to the presenter after his presentation. For any questions that are not answered, feel free to contact us at the contact information we'll provide later. Now let's talk about the chat panel. Look for it right next to the Q&A panel. Keep the chat panel open because this is where we will provide helpful links and other resources. Keep in mind that you won't be able to respond to the chat. The chat is just for us to send you links. Lastly, at the end of the webinar, a link where you can tell us how we did today will be provided. All right, so with all of those administrative items out of the way, I'd now like to introduce today's speaker, Armando Mendoza. Thanks again for being here, Armando. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Yara. Good morning or good afternoon to everyone, wherever you are in the country. Thank you today for joining the webinar. My name is Armando Mendoza. I'm a data dissemination specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. I began my career with the Census Bureau 13 years ago, and I have held several positions since then. I am located in Orange County, California, and I'm charged with covering the southern tip of Southern California that includes Orange, San Diego, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Imperial counties. I mention this because eventually, as COVID-19 restrictions are eased, my colleagues and I will be able to conduct trainings in person, which I believe are more effective and efficient in learning the vast amounts of tools and data available from the U.S. Census Bureau. All of these services and support are offered to you at no cost anywhere in the country. Later, I will provide information on how you can get in touch with our branch. Our branch, the Data Dissemination and Training Branch, which includes the Census Academy, is composed of dozens of individuals dispersed throughout the country that can provide presentations, in-person training, and webinars like this session for your organization's specific needs and requirements. We conduct workshops to teach how to access the data from the decennial census, the American Community Survey, the economic census, the annual population estimates, and other data collection efforts from the U.S. Census Bureau. The Census Academy has a number of online resources, including a portal to request training sessions anywhere in the country. You also have access to self-paced courses and recorded webinars on a number of subjects. You can sign up to receive updates and notifications on the release of the newest data gems. Data gems are great There's short how-to videos on utilizing data tools. Recorded webinars allow you, at your convenience, to listen to past webinars on several subjects, such as veterans, income and poverty, race and ethnicity, as well as advanced features of using the 2nd edition of the Census Business Builder. So let's move on to the objectives of this session. The Census Business Builder is a suite of services that provide selected demographic and economic data from the Census Bureau and third-party data sets tailored to specific of users in a simple-to-access and use format. There are 2 Census Business Builders editions, the Small Business and the Regional Analyst editions. The Small Business Edition, as its name implies, is primarily for small business owners or entrepreneurs who need key data for their business plan or to better understand their potential market. It presents data for a single type of business or a single industry cluster at a time. The Regional Analyst Edition is primarily for chambers of commerce and regional planning staff who need a broad portrait of the people and the business in the service area. It presents data for all sectors of the economy and for user-defined region made up of 1 or more areas. On this session, we are going to focus on the latest Census Business Builder Small Business Edition 4.1. As I mentioned before, you can request training on the Regional Analyst Edition or any of the Census Bureau data tools and apps or topics your organization data requirements or need are. On this version, 4.1 includes updated quarterly labor force data through 2nd quarter of 2021 from the Bureau of Labor Statistics Quarterly Census of Employment and Wages. It also has updated quarterly workforce data through 1st quarter of 2021 from the Quarterly Workforce Indicators. It also contains data that we purchased from ESRI regarding the consumer expenditures for calendar year 2021. It also has new geographic ranking chart and data dashboard, an industry cluster feature now in both editions that allows the user to build a cluster of 2 or more industries and view the summarized data for the cluster in the map and in the report. In addition, it has some other performance and usability requirements. The Census Business Builder was launched back in 2015. And since then, the tool has evolved to include a number of Census Bureau and other third-party data sources. So let's take a look at of an overview of these rich data sources. The Census Bureau conducts over 100 census surveys and estimates. Some of this data, as well as other third-party data sources, is used in the Census Business Builder. So let me give you a quick synopsis of these resources. The American Community Survey, or ACS, is the nation's most current, reliable, and accessible data source. It is the largest survey of households in the United States. Data from this monthly survey includes demographic, socioeconomic, housing characteristics down to the neighborhood level, which we call census tracts. Census tracts have a population that ranges between 1,200 and 8,000, with an optimum size of about 4,000 people. The annual sample of 3.5 million housing units is divided in monthly random sample of approximately 291,000 addresses. There are 3 estimates within the ACS. 1-year estimates are for large populations of 65,000 or more. The 1-year supplemental estimates are for smaller populations, 20,000 and above. And finally, the 5-year estimates are for all levels of geography, including census tracts. The next source is the County Business Patterns, which provides statistics by employment size classes, for example, the number of establishments with fewer than 5 employees, and legal forms of organizations such as corporations and partnerships. This data is available at the national and state levels. County Business Patterns program began producing annual statistics on different measures of the economic activity since 1964. Next is the economic census. This is conducted every 5 years in years that end in 2 and in 7. The U.S. Census Bureau collects extensive statistics about businesses that are essential to understanding the American economy. Nearly 4 million businesses, large, medium, and small, covering most industries and all geographic areas of the United States, will receive surveys tailored to their primary business activity. Next is the Annual Business Survey, or ABS, which replaces the Survey of Business Owners. The ABS provides information on selected economic and demographic characteristics for businesses and business owners by sex, ethnicity, race, and veteran status. It combines data results from survey respondents and administrative records to produce data on business ownership. The survey is collected from employer businesses, as well as the non-employer data are compiled from administrative records. Next is the International Trade Program, which is the official source of the U.S. export and import statistics. Workforce and educational attainment is produced by the quarterly workforce indicators, which will be one of the measures that we'll take into account when we go into the live demo. Consumer spending is provided by ESRI. As I mentioned before, this is data that we purchased from ESRI. Employment and wage data is published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or BLS. And the agriculture data comes from the USDA. Finally, you can import your own data using the Import Excel feature. All of these programs are complex in nature. However, the Census Business Builder leverages the data in an easy-to-use format, as we will see during the live demonstration. Every program contains a hyperlink on this slide for additional information. While the data sources are complex and comprehensive, there are 4 easy steps to begin your research that will be the basis of your analysis. First, you select the business you want to research. Next, you select the geography or location interested. And third, browse the data on the map. And finally, produce the report. During the live demo, we are going to be looking at 4.1, which includes easy-to-use menus and search tools to select the location you would like to research in nearly all types of businesses. It offers an interactive maps to browse and download the data about the selected area and the type of business. It offers a customizable dashboard that includes a time series, geographic comparison, and geographic ranking charts. The reports are interactive and are downloadable that can be easily incorporated into research or in your business planning. Version 4.1 is also optimized to use with smartphones or tablets. So let's explore these features live. Specifically, I'm going to focus on restaurants and other eating places. The geographic location that I'm choosing is Orange County, California. And later we'll produce a report. I'm going to pause for a second and go live. And begin at the Census Bureau landing page. This is a landing page that contains a number of characteristics, census estimates, and monthly surveys that the Census Bureau conducts. Recently, we have a picture here of Robert Santos, which is our newly appointed Census Bureau Director. Before I go into the Census Business Builder, I'm going to give you a really quick overview of the Census Academy because he has a number of resources that you can utilize. To get there, you hover over Explore Data and select Census Academy. This is the landing page for the Census Academy, which allows you to look by topic, any area of interest. It also has a number of comprehensive courses. For example, here's a comprehensive course on accessing 2020 census data. If you continue to scroll down, you can see additional resources. Here are some here are some courses on government and research. Here is a calendar of upcoming webinars and other data sources for you. At the very top, you can look and expand the data gems that are available, which again are short how-to videos, typically ranging in 3 to 5 minutes on how to access census data on several topics. You have webinars, which are upcoming, and the recorded webinars schedule. Here are some courses and tutorials. To get back to the landing page of the Census Bureau, I'm simply going to click on the Census Bureau logo. And there are two ways to find the Census Business Builder, which is the primary demonstration. One, you can use this quick search box and just simply type CBB. Click enter, and the first option is going to be, apologize, it went somewhere else. It didn't really do the search. The first option should be the Census Business Builder. Well, Murphy's Law, whatever is going to go wrong is going to go wrong. I don't know what happened here. The second option, which is a little bit, it takes a couple of more steps. Nonetheless, you can get there, is the same way that we found the Census Academy. Click over Explore Data. Click on Data, Tools, and Apps. Here you're going to find a comprehensive list of all the data, tools, and apps that we offer. And the Census Business Builder should be right here, which are all in alphabetical order. This is the landing page for the Census Business Builder. There's a few resources here that you can look at. For example, here's an overview of the program. And you have some downloadable PDF files, either for the Small Business Edition or the Regional Analyst Edition. You can look at instructional flyers on several topics for either of the editions. So for example, here are accessing the reports, data to upload feature instructions, filtering and result instructions, mapping classes and color palette. You'll also be able to look at past webinars by clicking on webinars and look at prior recorded webinars that most likely include prior versions of the Census Business Builder. The last recorded was back in June of 2016, June 26, 2019, on accessing the quarterly workforce indicators in Census Business Builder. You have frequently asked questions and some help features here. And finally, no system is perfect, so we have a page where known issues and comments that you can have. I have to remind you that this tool began in 2015, and we have had several enhancements, and the majority of the enhancements comes from users' feedback. We highly encourage you that if you don't see anything today that you would like to be included in future releases, please send us feedbacks and let us know what you might be interested in. So now for the demo. As I mentioned, we're going to focus on Census Builder, the Small Business Edition. I am simply going to select and go through the steps that I mentioned earlier. As you open what we call the splash page, you're going to see 9 broad categories on businesses. As you hover over the pointer, the mouse pointer is going to tell you what's within it, which are 9 subcategories. And the construction, you can see there includes drywall, electrical, flooring, foundation, construction, and so forth. Food services, which I will be utilizing for this demo, includes bars, buffets, caterers, full service, and fast food restaurants. Healthcare, you can see there includes assisted living facilities. As you open, the icon is going to produce an icon for the 9 subcategories. I mentioned that I was going to use the quarterly workforce indicators. In this case, restaurants. Quarterly workforce indicators are only at the 2 and 4 NAICS codes. NAICS is an acronym for North America Industry Classification System. We're going to include a link on the chat so you can look at the nomenclature and the numbering structure for NAICS. That is quite complex, so we won't have time to explain what that is today. But when I click on restaurants, if I hop over, you can see that the NAICS codes for restaurants is a 6 code digit, which is right here, 722511. Because I want to show you the quarterly workforce indicators, I'm going to select a 4-digit code. To do that, I'm going to use this quick search box, and I already know that that is contained within 7225, and it's right here. 7225 includes restaurants and other eating places. Next, we can either look at Find My Location if you have location services enabled on your tablet or your phone or your computer, or you simply enter a geography. In my case, I'm going to type Orange County, California. And here, you can either go to the map and look at the data that is the default, or you can go directly into creating the report. Because I haven't selected any filters other than the default ones, I'm going to go to the map, and the system is going to refresh and render the boundaries for Orange County, California, and its adjacent counties. So right as you click, you can see right off the bat, you can see that there is the first selected filter on the left-hand side, which is the total population. Because we haven't selected a second filter, it's not available yet. You can see the population differences between Orange County and adjacent counties, like in this case, LA, San Diego, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Santa Clara. You can look at the median household income. You can look at some educational attainment. In this case, it's 85.5% high school degree or above. The home ownership at 57.4, and then the total number of employment establishments. To the right, you see a legend with the population distribution, and it gives you the ability to further customize your map by either selecting a different color scheme and also selecting a different classing method. In this case, it's quantile or equal interval. I'm going to leave it at the default, and map is going to refresh. If you have made any other selections, you can also minimize this box by clicking in here. At the top, you have some tools where you can download the data into a CSV format, an Excel, or a shape file. You have a way to add new layers. You also have the ability to change the base map into a topographic, imagery, dark. I'm not going to go into that because the system is running a little slow this morning and rendering the maps. And then finally, you can use the transparency. So you can reduce the transparency to be able to see street features, or you can increase that transparency. So now we have here selected restaurants and other eating places at the top ribbon. We have selected Orange County. We have our first and default total population filter. I'm going to click here. And in here you have several options depending on the type of analysis that you're doing. In this case, we're looking at restaurants. So I'm interested in consumer spending. I'm going to click on consumer spending. And then here you have the option to select what sections of the spending features for households you can select. I'm going to select total consumer expenditures per household and select the variable. The map is going to refresh once more. And now we're going to be able to see the second filter on the left-hand pane. And you can see that should be refreshing in a second. Right now it says not available. And give us the total consumer spending. As I mentioned, today is running a little slow. You can see that there's 109,475 total consumer expenditures per household. I need to point out that this is the total expenditures for services, not only for restaurants. And we'll go that. We'll take a look at we dive into the consumer expenditures once I create the report. So this could be a little bit confusing, but I had to do a little research. As I mentioned, the data comes from ESRI, and I thought, geez, the median household income in Orange County is $90,000, so people are spending more than what they earn and needing out. But again, it's not the case. It's the total consumer expenditure for services. Next, I mentioned that I was going to look at the quarterly workforce indicators. So I'm going to click on the right-hand side and add the third filter. Again, you have the same options. You can look at business annual revenues. You can look at the total employment of employers, the total annual payroll for employers, the total revenue of employees, and some other characteristics. Anytime you see a characteristic that is striked out, that means that it's not available because either geographic level is too small or it's just simply not available. Here are some businesses quarterly. So establishments, employment first month of the quarter, and so forth. You have building permits. In the case you were looking at the construction industry, this is data that might be useful for you. Here, my variables, this is what I mentioned earlier, where you can update and upload the map with your own data, uploading an Excel file. And finally, this is the consumer spending. So I mentioned that I was going to work with the workforce indicators, which also has a number of selections that you can make. So for example, beginning quarter of employment, all ages, all hires, separations, firm job gains, firm job losses, firm job change, average monthly earnings. I'm going to select average monthly earnings as a variable and click on select variable. Here you have the ability to use this slider to do a custom characteristic of the monthly earnings by working either the right side or the left side. I'm going to leave it at the default, and I'm going to apply the filter. The map is going to render once again, but right off the bat, you can see that the average monthly earnings for restaurants and other eating places is between $2,100 and $2,300. The time series is going to show two different non-overlapping periods from the American Community Survey. I mentioned the 5 estimates, 1 year for 65,000 and above, 1 year 20,000 and above, and then the 5-year estimates are for all levels of geography. This happens to be 2 different overlapping periods from the ACS, which we highly recommend to use this technique. We don't recommend using overlapping periods. In this case, there are 2 vintages, 2010 to 2014 and 2015 to 2019. Later, I believe in March 17, we're going to be releasing the next vintage from the American Community Survey, which includes 2016 to 2020. You're also able to minimize this banner. And also when you click on this little gear box, you can either deselect the charts or the other variables. I'm going to leave it as a default. So now you have your filter selected. However, this not only gives you the ability to look at the statistics for Orange County, our initial selection, you can simply use the map to look at what would it look like on a neighboring county. In this example, I'm going to click on San Diego, which is a little bit further south. And again, I apologize, the system is running a little slow, although it is in the cloud and it's hosted by Amazon Web Services, but it is taking a little longer than usual. So as I click on an adjacent county, the system is going to refresh. And now it's refreshed. Now we're looking at San Diego County. We're looking at the population very similar to Orange County, very similar, with a little lower median household income, but you kind of get the idea. You can do that on any of the adjacent counties. This will help you to determine where is the more feasible, where is the more advantageous geographic location that you might want to expand or open a new restaurant. I just click on Riverside, and this happens to be really, really quickly. Above is San Bernardino County. And as you can see, that it just takes a little longer, but now it's refreshed. Finally, we're going to create a report. Before you create a report, you have the ability to select some features of the report by clicking on this gearbox, and you can either select or deselect the data that you don't want. Again, I'm going to leave it at the default, and I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to create a report. The report is very comprehensive, which includes all of the filters that we selected and some additional information. To the left side of the page, you have the index. As soon as the report gets rendered. Again, I apologize for the delay. Typically, the system is very dynamic, very fast, because it works on the API. So it's making calls to the server on Amazon Web Services, and it should be really, really quick. I don't know, as most of us are working from home. I don't know if it's my internet or just the system is slowing down, although I do have a very good broadband service at 200 megabits per second, so fairly fast. However, the report is taking a little longer. So here it is. Here's the content to the left, the contents of the report, my potential customers, a business summary, consumer spending data, and then about the data. I'm just simply going to scroll down the page to see the full report, which again is very comprehensive. Here are statistics with regards to demographic characteristics of your potential customers. So the total population, the percentage male and female, some age categories, some race and ethnicity. If I continue to go down, we'll see some economic characteristics, the median household income, the percent of people are in poverty, the employment status, the mode of transportation, whether they walk to work, do they walk at home, some veteran statistics. If I continue to scroll down, the percentage of people that speak another language other than English. If I continue to scroll down, here are some housing characteristics, tenure, the differences between people that own a housing or rent, single family detached, the homeowner rate, vacancy rate. As I continue to scroll down, you can see the business summary. It tells you the next goal, which is restaurants and other eating places. Here's also a link to the full definition of this industry. If I continue to scroll down, you can see the employer establishments, which in this case is 3,300. the number of establishments with 100 to 249 employees, 250 to 499, and so forth. Here is the average revenue per employee. Here are some additional non-employer statistics. There is no international in trading goods, so no data available here. Here's the workforce from the workforce indicators. So again, this is a very comprehensive report that you can use either on your business plan or to perhaps request a loan. Here's the building permits, which is not relevant to this, or perhaps there is in case you're looking for a new facility where there's a new restaurant, perhaps it's a new development and a shopping center. And here's the consumer expenditure figures. This is the total consumer expenditures per household, and then the drill down into what is the characteristic. We were looking for people that dining out, so here's the consumer expenditures per household on dining out, food away from home. And finally, here is about the data and some definitions and so forth. So with that, I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions. Monica?
Hello, Armando, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. There were a few questions in the chat. I'll start off with, this is a great tool and information. What is the basis of data? How many years and from which start date to end dates, please?
Well, as I mentioned, there's, about 10 categories of either U.S. Census Bureau data sources. It depends on source. I mentioned the American Community Survey. In this case, we're using the latest vintage, which is 2015 to 2019. I believe I was checking earlier, and the 3,168,000 people in Orange County, I believe that comes from either the annual population estimates program. I know it doesn't come from the 2020 census because I double checked. With regards to the survey business owners, the trade statistics, the agriculture statistics, I am not sure. That is why I included on that slide the sources so you can look in depth. These are very complex and comprehensive reports that have different ways of measuring the activity of business and households. So it really depends on which source, which data source you're looking at.
Okay, thank you. There was another question. I want to learn more about the demographics of the populations who drink alcohol consumption in the state of Georgia. Can I generate a demographic report based on age, race, income, etc. in Census Business Builder?
Yes, you can. So again, the 4 easy steps, in this case, you will select Georgia. On your industry, you select bars. However, we know that restaurants also offer alcohol. So it really depends on how deep you want to do the analysis, but it gives you the ability to do that. It's really a very comprehensive to do an analysis on any business. For example, the restaurant industry, you can include, when I spoke about clustering, I was speaking about adding, in addition to restaurants and other eating places, I could have easily added catering services or food truck services. We know that sometimes food truck services turn on into a full-fledged restaurant, or vice versa. A restaurant may expand into a food truck business, which is the new trend in the last few years. So yes, you can select the geography, select the industry that you're interested in, narrow into alcoholic beverages, and then select your your demographic and socioeconomic characteristics, which come from the American Community Survey, and that it's actually already included in the default search. Or you can select it as you begin to build your analysis. Also remember what I mentioned earlier. There are really dozens of individuals like myself dispersed throughout the country that can provide support to you either by phone, if it's a simple question, by creating a webinar, or coming out or conducting an online webinar for your organization-specific needs. You see that this is really complex, and in an hour's time is really difficult to address every question that we have. I think we have in attendance over 500 people with diverse data needs. So I really encourage you, as I conclude my presentation, I'm going to provide you a way that you can get in touch with us to reach out, and we can answer your question in a more specific manner.
Okay, there's an additional question. So can this same data be narrowed down to city or town also? Yes,
that is also going to reduce the number of business resources that are available. For example, county business patterns is only available at the state and the county level. The data from the American Community Survey, as I mentioned in my presentation, does include down to the census tract level. So it's really small neighborhoods that range between 1,200 and 8,000 in population. But again, it really depends. Some of the data sources are available at the state level. Some of them go down all the way to the census tract level. But again, it depends the data source and the geographic level that they serve.
Okay, and I'm going to ask one additional question. And this one is, I apologize, give me one moment. The question is, I wanted to know if there's a way to build a trend report for an area. What is for example, what is the population growth or median salary growth in Orange County over the last 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, for that, I would recommend using another data tool. It's called data.census.gov. And again, that's a good segue to tell you that the Census Bureau Data Dissemination and Training Branch have specialists that can teach you how to access this data through the several tools. Again, we can do this in a presentation style. We can do it a webinar. We can do it via phone and so forth. And again, the best thing is that we can do this at free of cost. There's also, I encourage you to look at the data gems, because sometimes the data gems, although they are very short in nature, 3 to 5 minutes, they can answer many, many questions that allow you to do your own research. And again, if you need support, I'm going to provide you the way that you can get in touch with us. So if you are in any of the areas that I mentioned earlier, or in San Diego, San Bernardino, Riverside, and Imperial counties, I will be your contact. If you are somewhere else in the country, please send us an email at census.askdata@census.gov or call the 844 number. We'll be able to direct to the specific data specialist in your area. Are there any other questions?
No, that concludes the questions at this time. Thank you, Armando.
Well, thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you again, Armando, for the great presentation that you gave us. I'd like to really thank everybody who played a role in here today. And of course, thank you, the audience, for spending your time with us this afternoon. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation by following the link that we provided in the chat. We hope that you'll let us know not only what we can improve on, but what you really enjoy about this session. So look out for the recording and the PowerPoint presentation on the Census Academy. You can visit census.gov/academy for that. And we also want to remind you of our next webinar in this series, which is using population estimates and projections This is going to be taking place on Thursday, March 10 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will bring us to a close. So we thank you again, and we hope you have a great afternoon.
This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for participation. You may disconnect at this time.